So this is my next episode of my core values series in my vlog. So who this show is for? This show is for people who want to understand both a little bit better about my firm and then also people who are curious about tax issues. So one of the things that I found is that there's a lot of bad information out on the internet about what to do when you're kind of on the wrong side of the IRS. And so on this show, I talk about some strategies for what to do about that, how to kind of manage that, and I bring on other kind of interesting guests in the field who deal with these kind of issues so that people can get a sense of kind of who else is out there. There's a lot of the sad thing is there have been a lot of scams out there, and so we're really just trying to educate taxpayers about, what's legit, what's not, give them some good information and send them on our way or send them on their way. This is something that I and some other people do in our free time, so there's not going to be a whole lot of editing, not a whole lot of post-production. This isn't, really a sales kind of tool where we're at the end of it, there's going to be some kind of sell. This is just about putting good information out there so people who can make better decisions about how to manage this kind of thing. So that's what we're here for. And then a little bit about me. I run my own tax firm where I kind of have a niche within that, but people who end up on the wrong side of the tax code, people who kind of get in trouble with the IRS, usually, a lot of folks, it's just because they didn't understand something, then it kind of snowballed. And, some folks, it's because they made a mistake or they had to, choose between paying taxes and paying bills, and now they, need some help kind of putting that part of their life behind them and moving forward. And thankfully, there are some programs that let them do that. So today's particular topic it's the second in the series about core values, and that core value for my firm is continuing education, which sounds really boring, but there's not a lot of knowledge about kind of the specifics of what can go into this, and there's, at least to some degree in the tax industry, I think an overconfidence about some of these programs that general practitioners have. It's super simple. You just do this and you fill out the form, and there's whole layers of nuance in even specific representation case issues. The difference between, wage garnishments and continuous levies and what can go on an OIC, that's an offer in compromise, and then, what happens when you do certain actions as far as the statute of limitations on your tax debt goes. I dealt with a client who had gone through a bankruptcy, and his tax debt would have disappeared by now, actually, if he hadn't gone through that bankruptcy. And so I really wish I could have consulted with him before that, because he ended up, not discharging his tax debt in bankruptcy, because in my circuit that's not allowed. And the reality is, if he had just continued on his payment plan, the vast majority of his debt would have disappeared all on its own. But he got sold to bankruptcy by someone who maybe didn't do the level of due diligence or think about his case as deep down as they should have. So he got a little bit of debt discharged, but not nearly what he was expecting to. Cost him a whole boatload of money, and it made his tax debt collectible for another almost 3 years. And so he ended up showing up at my door, and we were able to do the right things to help make that go away in a way that worked for his situation and his facts and circumstances. But that's what I'm talking about, why continuing education is important, because if you don't know what you don't know, you can really get in trouble real quick when you're working with clients. If you don't know how amounts are applied to the tax debt, the order that it goes to it, if you have penalties, interest, and original tax, there's an order to that, and which years they put first, and the fact that you can ask them to put it towards certain years. So, if something's about to fall off the statute of limitations, and they don't have to pay that anymore in a little bit, you don't want the IRS automatically applying the penalty to that year if you can help it. So there's just lots of nuances like this, and that's why continuing education is so important. Most of the people I work with are, the minimum CE for, I think CPAs is, I believe it's 30 or 40 units. It depends on the state. For EAs, it's 21. The National Association of Enrolled Agents that I'm in requires a minimum of 30. I'm not that familiar with bar requirements. I think it's actually quite low. I think it's but I can't speak to the quality or anything like that. I think it's around 20 for my state. But the reality is that, if you're going to hire someone in a specialty area, you kind of want them to meet and exceed that. And in my case, I think, I stopped counting after 40 or 50, and that doesn't take into account the grad classes that I'm always taking, that, you get the same amount of credit that you get if you show up to just a normal continuing education program for 3 hours. But that's, a semester-long program, weekly assignments, but you get 3 hours of continuing education because that's the contact hour that you get. It's either here nor there, but that's the point is that constant education helps you keep up on changes. It helps you keep up on new strategies. It helps you keep up on these nuances that are changing. It's like I'm dealing with this one thing now where there's an employer shared responsibility payment, which is a new thing as a couple of years ago. It's the employer side of the shared responsibility payment, and don't know much about that, but I've got colleagues that I can ping and ask questions about, and I was able to get somebody kind of on the other side who actually helped advise writing on the bill that this penalty came from. So, that continuing education and the networking that goes along with it is just super important for expanding your network and making sure you're not operating by yourself, kind of fly by night, because that's the last thing you want. You don't want someone who just churns out OICs all day without any due diligence. You want someone who's going to go through your tax transcripts and has the knowledge to be able to do that and figure out what the best course of action for you is, and that's what continuing education does. It also lets them have a really nuanced view of penalty abatements, and there are lots of great people out there. I know lots of great people who do really good work in this industry, and it's because they're always educating themselves, because they're always keeping up on the changes. And that's why, as boring as education is, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about from a marketing point of view how important education is, because it's what accountants and lawyers and financial professionals and enrolled agents are all interested in. It's not necessarily what the customer's interested in, but I think I can't stress enough the importance of looking at the CV or the resume of the person you're hiring, and looking to see, if it's me, you can see it. If it's anybody else, you want to see it though. You want to see what they've done, and you want to see how high they value improving their skills, because if that's not high on their importance list, you're going to be in for some trouble. Like, you don't want to spend the kind of money that sometimes this costs and, have some joker who just fills out the form and sees, well, maybe they'll take it, maybe they won't. Like, you want someone who's really going to put in a level of care that only someone who's done the continuing education, the initial education, is constantly educating themselves about all the nuances that go into this stuff can. And that's the level of service that I want to give to my clients, and that's why that's such an important value at my firm, along with the other ones, including, like I talked about in the last episode, excellent communication. I talk about why caring is such an important core value for us coming up soon, as well as accountability and some other ones as well. So that's what we've got for today. Again, this is my vlog today. It was about the core value of continuing education. You can click on this particular video at any time. It'll bring you to my website if you want to learn more about those core values. You can go right to where they are on my website. And then the other thing that you can do is if you have a tax question, you can put it in the comment section below. You can subscribe. You can put that there. And my offer, my standing offer is that if you put that comment down in there, I'm very likely to see it almost immediately. And I will pump out a new video, and I batch these. I tell people that because I don't have time to do one of these every day of the week or, do it every time I'm about to publish it. But I will answer your question, and I will put out a new video that kind of interrupts the sequence within a week. If I don't see it, obviously it won't go out. Remind me. My email's right on my website. You can send me an email to let me know that's there if I didn't see it. But I'm going to be looking for them, and if you've got questions, you put them down there, and within a week you'll see an answer to your tax question and kind of maybe even a little bit of a strategy around it or some of the potential pitfalls that you might not know exist. So that's my offer, and that'll come out quick because I know that if someone's struggling with this, they really need good information fast. That's all. So signing off for today, and you'll see the next core value come out shortly.